don't expect it to happen overnight. I think you got to be in for the long game. Anticipate you won't be getting into the black for 3 years. It's going to become stale. You're going to flatline at some point, and you're going to have to look back at what you built and find a new way of looking at it, a new way of marketing it. You're going to have to invest time outside of 8 till 4:30. And entrepreneurship doesn't shut off.
Welcome to this episode of the Sask Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today, we have a very exciting guest, Craig Campbell, who I've known personally for more than 10 years. He is the president of G3Tech, which was established back in 2007. And it was one of the first companies to bring ground-penetrating radar to the Saskatchewan construction industry since then. So since then, it's been a continued leader in applying new and innovative technologies to coincide with non-destructive testing for both the municipal and construction sectors. Craig, welcome to the show.
Hello, Mouneeb.
Excellent to have you here today. And Craig, we go back a long way, but I really want to know a little bit more about your background, and maybe you can tell the audience how you actually ended up starting G3Tech.
I was in the oil industry for most of in the 90s, from my early 20s right through. And I was a cathodic protection technologist, was basically a fancy name for someone who knows why things rust. And I ran that company for about almost 13 some years for another gentleman. And I felt like going off onto my own. I got approached by Transgas, and it's mentioned if I started a similar company, that they would hire me. No sooner did I put the bid in order to get the contracts, my mom got diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I actually hung up everything and took the next year and a half, almost 2 years, from 2005 to 2007, helping care for her. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2007, and I was left looking at, what my career was going to be. Cathodic protection was really specialized at the time. And it kept me on the road. I no longer felt like living on the road. So I heard of ground penetrating radar. So I researched into it, and I looked, and coming from a construction background and stuff, I just knew that this was a niche market, and this is the way the times were going to go. So I got a hold of the company, purchased a piece of equipment, flew them in, had them train me for a few days, and then I spent the next 3 months training myself of just learning of how the technology could work and all the different applications to it. I was really limited at the time of just doing basically concrete structure surveys. And that's how I originally started G3Tech, was just scanning concrete structures.
So it's interesting about your backstory. And, I know you've been involved with multiple other businesses as well. And over the years, you've grown as an entrepreneur. So can you tell us a little bit about your personal backstory and how you are actually helping your past experience grow G3Tech today?
I grew up my father owned his own construction company. I grew up out of town, so we've always worked, and I've always seen my father have his own company and run all his own stuff. So I think it came pretty natural for me to be doing things all on my own. I took a couple breaks from the oil industry. One was to work for Enz Toyota, and I sold cars for a year and a half. And then after that, I got hired on by Ralco, and I sold advertising for just over half a year. And the skill set I got from learning cold calls and sales was incredible. It really helped me out. I had ran that other man's company for quite a few years and stuff like that, so I really knew about hiring and training already. And I basically just jumped in with both feet. I designed my first logo all by myself. I think the very first web page or anything I had up in business cards, I did that all on my own. Everything from my bookkeeping, I figured it out on my own. And I think it was the training I had as a salesman really was key to helping me grow this company. Because I truly believe no matter who you are, you have to know sales. You're selling something or yourself. So seeing as this technology was so new and cutting edge, no one had even heard of it. So I had to do numerous presentations to construction companies, engineering firms, and just to prove to them of how I could save them money down the road.
Mm-hmm. So would I be correct in saying that sales mastery is one of the ingredients of your success as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I really believe so. I really believe no matter, like you're right, I've had numerous businesses, everything from a granola business that I started in my kitchen and end up selling it across provinces and all the grocery stores to starting a coffee roastery that's now being sold across provinces. Even when I was younger, I always had my own businesses. I welded furniture and I sold that to studios and to designers. Just I was one of the first to, I and my brothers, to start a vending bus. We had the barbecue bus. We sold burgers probably 25, 27 years ago in front of the bars in Saskatoon. So before it was so cool and trendy, we were doing that. So we've always done sales, and I've always believed in providing really good service and taking a look back at every time I do something, especially if it's a mistake, how I could correct that, how I could become better, and what would keep me cutting edge. That philosophy, red ocean, blue ocean. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I really believe in the red ocean, blue ocean philosophy, that if you're going to be doing something, you want to be in a smaller group, of elite group, of doing something cutting edge and more professional. And I've continually added aspects to G3Tech throughout my years. Whenever I thought there was a spot that could become stronger, I added that technology in. So we're currently running at least 5 different non-destructive testing technologies that overlap, and they just make everything we do more precise. And we can just be like a go-to. Our slogan is, we provide solutions. And I love when clients come to me with a unique problem or situation, and I can design something new or overlap multiple of my technologies in order to come up with a solution for them.
So G3Tech, you've been operating this for many years now. What kind of services do you specialize in?
Like I said, it started with the construction industry. Someone had to cut or core through a concrete structure, and you have no idea what's within that concrete. All the structure in there. The engineers don't want you just cutting the rebar and the bones of the building, and there's utilities and conduits and such that could be hazardous to someone's health, or just cause so much damage to the building. It takes a lot of money to correct them, or they can't be corrected. So we started with scanning a lot of concrete, and with that, my training in the oil industry, I knew how to do line locating of utilities. So I added that technology in there because they could kind of overlap. And so that kind of led us into starting to do outdoor utility locates. And then environmental and engineering companies and architectural companies started getting a hold of us, asked if we could do ground surveys with ground penetrating radar. Even though it's the same technology, it's a new division of it. So we started dabbling into that and kind of got trained through trial and error, figured things out, and now we do extremely precise, high-end ground surveys, everything from utility surveys to landfills in the north of old dump sites where they used to bury the garbage off in the bush and something that's covered over, where they're cleaning those areas up now. So we will go in with our antennas. We can identify where those pockets are, so they can either clean them up or do water samples. We've scanned over top of most of the retention ponds and stuff like that within Saskatoon here to let them know what the depth of them is, how much sediment is built up. The fire department has hired us to check and see what the ice thickness is on some of the ponds to make sure they're safe for the public. We've done bedrock surveys and even grave surveys. We've done some of the stuff at Beardy near Duck Lake. We did their cemetery there in 2019 in order to identify where the burial sites were, where the place marker was no longer visible.
So it's interesting you mentioned that, because obviously we have been hearing the news about the mass graves in residential schools, and would your service be one of the kinds of services that can actually help identify some of these mass graves that are underneath?
Yeah, 100%. Minutes after that, all those news stories came out, my phone started ringing off the hook all the way from Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, British Columbia. And I spent about 5 weeks having meetings with the FSIN and other parties at the and different band members from all the different provinces in order to instruct and talk to them about these surveys. The surveys, we haven't done any. They were extremely detailed survey, and I really put caution to the parties at the beginning. I wrote out a PDF of outline the procedures that should be that they should maintain in order to do these surveys correctly, because this, honestly, in my 14 years, and we put together an A-team here. We had a former forensics officer, a master, someone with a master's in geology. We had our team put together in order to help with this, and even with all of that, we knew this would be the most challenging survey of our career. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So with G3Tech, obviously there's, every business faces competition, and how would G3Tech be different from your competitors?
I think for the fact that just our knowledge of the industry is so vast, all the way from the minute, we could survey things within centimeters or millimeters almost on, say, like a bridge deck, right through to engineering. So the structure, my father having a construction company, I was always around the building of buildings and structures, so I have a high knowledge of that. And so all the things we can incorporate thermography, line locating, drone imagery, GPS. So we're not just pigeonholed into one thing, and we've got all the technologies that we can design or change or alter to suit multiple different needs. Whereas some companies, they maybe just focus on one piece of the market. We got the ability to basically do most of it, and with the knowledge and background behind it, to do it properly.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in growing G3Tech?
Educating my clientele on what the technology can do and the limitations of the technology is the biggest limitation. People see it as basically like a video camera that you could just go in and you can see through, and you can see through everything, and you can see details. And Hollywood and the movies have not done it justice. The pictures they show of using ground penetrating radar and CSI, and they show exactly a skeleton underneath, like holding a handgun or something. And these aren't true. We cannot see in those greater details. And the deeper you go and the more challenging the soils are, the less detail you see. So GPR antennas, in order to see things that are deep, you lose detail. In order to see things of detail, you lose depth. So you're always trying to find this happy medium in between to specially design the survey, utilizing the right frequencies of antennas to gather exactly what you need. And then the limitations are the soil. If we get a high clay content soil, just as of last week, we did a job down near Crobert, and they asked us to go look for the utilities. Typically our antennas, we could get a clear visibility of, say, 2.5 meters. Because the high soil clay content, the attenuation, we could only see 1.2 meters down. Some of the utilities were actually buried deeper than that, and we just couldn't see them. And trying to explain these limitations to the client of, there's nothing we did wrong. We couldn't have gathered it any differently. We couldn't have changed an antenna. We couldn't process it any differently. If the signal's not getting to an area, it's just not getting there. So, and takes a lot of time to do it. For instance, the graveyard surveys. Some understanding I have about that one there was, you basically, if we did not have an understanding of the size of the grave, how it was positioned, we pretty much have to cover every inch of ground. An error I heard had happened at one of the surveys was they used an improper antenna that probably couldn't get the depth that they were needing to acquire. And they started with their survey in single lines, 1 meter to 2 meters apart. The GPR antenna only sees what's directly underneath it. So if you allow for those gaps to happen in between, you're completely blind and you can't tie your target together. So to go do, say, an acre, a client was like, well, how soon can you get in here and do this acre and then process it? It could potentially take me a day or 2 days to gather just that acre of land in the right detail. and then we'd have to post-process it afterwards, which could take another 2 days, 3 days. So it does take a lot of time. And I think that is the biggest challenge is the client to understand the time it takes, what we're capable of seeing. And sometimes we're not even know what we're capable of until we get to the site and see what challenges we're up against. And then if the weather changes, it starts to snow or pour rain, we may have to stop the survey completely because now all of a sudden the soil conditions have changed by the moisture and we won't see anything. So now we'll have to abandon the survey until the soil dries up or freezes.
Interesting. So it seems that there's, you're obviously using the latest technology that is out there right now to do the GPR work. Where do you see are the biggest opportunities in the near future? Do you feel that by investing in more technology and maybe better technology down the road that can actually help improve and allow you to do better surveys? Or what is the vision? What does the next 2-3 years look like for G3Tech?
A thing that has really changed in the last year is actually been the processing software. So the technology, the basis behind the technology has not changed too dramatically in the last 10, 15, 20 years. GPS antennas and such things, those have changed. But the processing technology is now becoming way more user-friendly. Like before, you would have needed a computer science degree and knowing how to use AutoCAD and all these different things in order to go through and do the processing. They're starting to realize, that not everybody has that ability. It wasn't a very user-friendly platform. So that has become a lot better. I see G3Tech. One thing that was a real benefit of happened with the residential schools was it really put forth the terminology of ground penetrating radar. It really piqued people's interests of what it can do. And once they see the capabilities of what it can do and how much quicker it can speed up a survey if we can pinpoint certain areas quite cost effectively, they're pretty much sold after that point. If we go into a building and we scan some areas and they wouldn't have, had they not scanned before, they could have hit a major utility, which could have stopped the job, prevented the job completely. So I think the clientele are getting to realize of the benefits, how detailed it can be, and the cost benefit then down the road from just being able to plan their build with the information we're bringing them. There's not really any other technology out there. There's not many that can see three-dimensionally from one surface through a substance. GPR is pretty much one of the only ones.
So you've talked, you shed light about the challenge in terms of educating your client about the technology and how it works. How are you overcoming this challenge? Is it mostly due to in-person meetings, or how do you actually help them overcome this challenge?
And each chance I get to talk to them on the phone, the thing is most situations are so unique that it's not just cookie cutter where I can just provide one solution for one thing. So any opportunity I got, I consider every single job as a promotion. Every single job I'm on, I take the time and my staff takes the time to educate the client on what we can do, to walk them through of what our findings are so they understand clearly of what we got. I think, with your help, 2Web's help, videos, a better web page. Every single time we've done a unique survey to hopefully post it or publish it to show what we can do. Videos and photos seem to work wonders. People are very visual. They don't have a lot of attention to read too much, so to make something really quick and easy for them. Word of mouth has been the biggest growth of my company for 14 years. We regularly get referred to by other clients and contractors because we've provided great service.
Got it. So where do you see are the biggest opportunities in the near future?
The size of the contract has continuously in the last couple of years grown. I think the very first year, the amount of money I made on my very first full year of contracts, there's times now where we'll get a contract that actually will be as much, if not more, than just that one there. So I think the size of the contracts are going to start to grow. Our name getting out there, the mobility that we can have, like we're looking at potentially expanding out into Eastern Canada and opening a second office up here, possibly in the next year. So with that extended reach, our clientele base that we've already built over 14 years of the engineering firms, the Stantec's, the SNC Lavalins, the Pinchins, and all those, they have offices in the West. So I think my next move will be a lateral move of just covering more of Canada. And yeah, I've had a real benefit in this last year of our name being in the media and the news, and our reputation is very strong. So I think it's a good time now to utilize that.
That's great. So if you could go back in time, let's say 10 years, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Wow. Invest more. Don't fear making mistakes. I think the mistakes I made were the key points to my education of learning what I could do. So, yeah, I don't know. Life's been pretty good in 10 years, so I don't know if I have too much to say.
That's good. That's good. So there's no regrets, and things are moving along really good. So that's wonderful. But obviously, you've experienced a lot of challenges, and based on those challenges and experience that you've overcome, if there was one big takeaway that you could give to our listeners, the entrepreneurs that are listening to this podcast, what would that be?
Don't expect it to happen overnight. I think you got to be in for the long game. Anticipate you won't be getting into the black for 3 years. Keep realistic expectations. You're not going to become a millionaire overnight. You're going to have to invest time outside of 8 till 4:30. An entrepreneurship doesn't shut off. We're a special breed of person that, I don't play golf or go to sports. I love entrepreneurship. I love thinking about my company. I love working on it. And I think you got to have that passion for it. Otherwise, you should just be working for someone else. So, yeah, understand that you're going to commit extra hours, and you just got to find something you love in what you do continuously. I think a big piece I would tell people is it's going to become stale. You're going to flatline at some point, and you're going to have to look back at what you built and find a new way of looking at it, a new way of marketing it. You have to find something that keeps you excited about it. Otherwise, it'll burn you out. So I can say 14 years later, I'm still excited, about what I do. And that drives me to make it bigger and do it better every single day.
That's awesome. Every day is a new opportunity to learn and to grow your business. And I think all businesses is innovation and marketing, as Peter Drucker, one of the best business minds of the past century, put it. So if you can actually innovate your business and market that business better than your competitors, then you can find success in entrepreneurship. And I think 100%. And you've been following that path for a while. I know you've been actually, you've been doing a lot in terms of promoting yourself, your personal brand, your company, even through your website and so forth. So that's really nice to see things are going well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You and I have seen a lot of growth together. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So, Craig, where can people find out more about you and contact you online?
Our webpage at g3tech.ca. You can get G3Tech through LinkedIn, and that's mostly the same spots. Yeah, we have a 1-800 number. So on Sask 411, if you look up ground penetrating radar, you'll find us. Yeah, or just look up G3Tech.
Great. We'll definitely include the links to your profile as well as your website here in the podcast and the article. But thank you so much, Craig, for taking the time today to share your story and to give some insight about G3Tech and how you've actually grown the business and exciting things to see in the near future here as well.
Thank you, Mouneeb.
Thanks for listening to Sask Entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a spark of inspiration. To catch more stories and lessons learned from Saskatchewan's business leaders, visit SaskEntrepreneurs.com. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep Saskatchewan strong. Ciao.